Wang Hao. Let's begin with one of table tennis's most heartbreaking stories, Wang Hao. A player destined for greatness, yet cursed to fall just short when it mattered most. By 2011 he was the world's top player, aggressive, lightning fast, and nearly unbeatable in regular competition. However, there was always this underlying tension surrounding Wang Hao's career. Despite his dominance, he had suffered crushing defeats in previous Olympic finals. The weight of those losses hung over him like a dark cloud, creating this narrative that he was cursed when it came to the biggest stage. The pressure was immense, and every major tournament became a test of whether he could finally break through his psychological barriers. Enter Zhang Jike, a player who represented everything Wang Hao wasn't. Where Wang Hao was methodical and calculated, Zhang Jike was explosive and unpredictable. Zhang Jike played with a fire that burned everything in its path, and he had this incredible ability to raise his game when the stakes were highest. He wasn't just talented, he was clutch in ways that defied explanation. On August 2, 2012, when they finally faced off in the 2012 London Olympic men's singles final, the atmosphere was suffocating. Wang Hao entered as the favorite, carrying the weight of his world #1 ranking and the expectations of an entire nation. But Zhang Jike brought something different to the table that day. He brought the fearlessness of someone who understood that opportunities like this don't come often. Set 1, both players started tense, knowing what was at stake. The rally stretched long, with neither willing to give an inch. At 16-16, every point felt like a mini-battle. Zhang Jike's fearless aggression finally broke through, and he edged Wang Hao 18-16, striking the first blow in a grueling opener. Set 2, riding that momentum, Zhang came out swinging. His forehand attacks landed with blistering pace, and his footwork opened angles Wang struggled to cover. The score quickly ran away, with Zhang taking it 11-5. Suddenly he was up 2 sets and the pressure shifted heavily onto Wang. Set 3, the third set, saw Zhang at his most dominant. Wang Hao searched for answers, but Zhang dictated nearly every rally, mixing power with pinpoint precision. An 11-6 win pushed him one step from Olympic gold, while Wang looked trapped in the same nightmare he had lived before. Set 4, but Wang Hao refused to fade quietly. Summoning his trademark backhand and resilience, he clawed back into the match. Point by point, he matched Zhang's fire with controlled counterplay. In a tight finish, Wang snatched the set 12-10, showing the world he still had a fight left. Set 5, the final set, was pure drama. Every rally felt like it could tilt the balance of history. Zhang surged ahead, Wang pulled him back, neither blinking under the lights of the Olympic stage. At 11-11, tension reached its peak. Then Zhang Jike delivered 2 fearless points, sealing it 13-11. With that, Zhang captured Olympic gold, cementing his place among the greats. For Wang Hao, it was heartbreak once more, a third straight Olympic silver that etched his legacy as one of the sport's most tragic figures. Even the greatest world #1s fall to Olympic champions. But here's where the story takes its most ironic turn. If you enjoy these moments of true champions clashing, subscribe and like for more epic stories of the sport's biggest clashes. Zhang Jike. Zhang Jike, the man who had dethroned Wang Hao through pure aggression and fearlessness, but eventually found himself in the exact same position on August 11, 2016 that Wang Hao had occupied. The 2016 Rio Olympic table tennis men's singles final. When Zhang Jike and Ma Long finally clashed in the final, the contrast was striking. Zhang Jike brought his usual intensity, but Ma Long brought something even more dangerous: complete preparation. He had analyzed Zhang Jike's game to an almost obsessive degree, identifying weaknesses and patterns that others had missed. This wasn't just talent versus talent, it was a preparation meeting opportunity. Set 1, the opening set, was a clash of equals. Zhang Jike, the defending Olympic champion, came out sharp, matching Ma Long's blistering pace shot for shot. Every rally stretched with tension, as the two teammates tested each other's defenses. At 12-12, it was anyone's game. But Ma Long, calm under fire, delivered 2 clinical points to take it 14-12, seizing the early edge. Set 2, with momentum on his side, Ma Long elevated his game. His forehand loop began tearing holes in Zhang's defense, while his serves kept Zhang guessing. The rallies were still fierce, but Ma's control and precision proved overwhelming. He pulled ahead quickly, closing the set 11-5, and suddenly Zhang looked on the back foot. Set 3, now Ma was in full flow. His footwork was flawless, his counters timed to perfection, and Zhang struggled to break through. Every attempt by Zhang to mount pressure was met with an even sharper reply. The gap widened, and Ma took the set 11-4, moving within touching distance of Olympic gold. Set 4 with the match slipping away, Zhang Jike fought to stay alive, but Ma Long was unstoppable. Dictating play with ruthless efficiency, he pinned Zhang into defensive positions again and again. The points piled up swiftly and another 11-4 score sealed it. Ma Long collapsed in joy as he secured his first Olympic singles gold, completing the one honor that had eluded him. For Zhang Jike, it was defeat on the sport's biggest stage, but also a passing of the torch, from one Chinese great to another. That night in Rio, the table tennis world witnessed the crowning of Ma Long as the undisputed king. The psychological impact of this defeat on Zhang Jike mirrored what Wang Hao had experienced years earlier. The realization that your time at the top has ended, that someone better has emerged, and that the sport has evolved beyond your ability to adapt, is devastating for any champion. Zhang Jike's fall wasn't just about losing a match, it was about watching the torch pass to someone who represented everything you used to be but better. Again, the greatest world number ones fall to Olympic champions. Ma Long's triumph established him as the new standard bearer for men's table tennis, but our story doesn't end there. The women's side of the sport was experiencing its own dramatic power struggles, and the most shocking upset was yet to come. If you enjoy these moments of true champions clashing, subscribe and like for more epic stories of the sport's biggest clashes. Sun Yingxia. Sun Yingxia rose as the dominant force in women's table tennis, blending power with finesse and speed with strategy in a way that left opponents doubting themselves. Her unpredictable serves, aggressive returns, flawless footwork and unshakable mentality made her world number one, not by chance but by proving she could excel in every aspect of the game. In an era filled with fierce world-class rivals, her dominance stood out as even more remarkable. But every empire eventually faces its greatest test, and for Sun Yingxia that test came in the form of Chen Meng. Chen Meng was a different type of challenger than what we had seen in the men's game. She wasn't the explosive upstart like Zhang Jike had been, nor was she the methodical perfectionist like Ma Long. Chen Meng was something else entirely. A player who combined experience with hunger in a way that made her incredibly dangerous. That day came. July 29, 2021. On that day the stadium was electric. Tokyo. The Olympic women's singles final. The stage every player dreams of, and every champion fears. Set 1. Sun Yingxia strikes first. The opening set was a statement from Sun Yingxia. Right from the start she looked fearless, stepping around the table, attacking early and pinning Chen Meng on the defensive. Chen tried to slow the pace, mixing in deep pushes and angled placements, but Sun's speed overwhelmed her. At 9-9 the set hung in the balance. Chen looked steady, but Sun unleashed two blistering forehand winners to snatch it 11-9. For the teenager, taking the first set wasn't just about points, it was psychological. She had shown that the world number one could be rattled. Set 2. Chen Meng regroups. If the first set was about Sun's fire, the second was about Chen's composure. She adjusted her serves, adding subtle variations that prevented Sun from attacking immediately. Suddenly, Sun was forced into rallies rather than dictating points off the serve. Chen's backhand block, one of her signature weapons, became a wall that absorbed Sun's power and redirected it with precision. Rally after rally, Sun found herself mistiming shots and overreaching. Chen built a steady lead and closed it out 11-6. This was the reminder. Chen wasn't going to be steamrolled. She had the experience and the tools to adapt. Set 3. Chen takes control. Now Chen Meng was in her element. With her rhythm restored, she began dictating rallies with surgical precision. Her placement was immaculate. Deep into the corners, wide angles that forced Sun to chase and sudden accelerations down the line. Sun tried to maintain aggression but the errors piled up. Chen's stability frustrated her, and for the first time the teenager looked rushed. Chen dominated 11-4, flipping the momentum of the match. From being a set down she was now leading 2-1, and the pressure shifted heavily onto Sun. Set 4. Sun refuses to fade. What separates Sun Yingxia from most young players is her resilience. Down 2-1 in the Olympic final, many would have crumbled. Instead, Sun stormed back in the fourth set with renewed aggression. She began targeting Chen's forehand side more aggressively, forcing the older player out of her comfort zone. Sun's serves also became more deceptive, short, spinny placements that set up her trademark third ball attacks. Chen was put on the defensive, and Sun ran away with the set 11-5. At 2-2, the final was wide open again. The battle wasn't just about skill anymore, it was about nerves. Set 5, Chen reasserts dominance. Just as quickly as Sun had reignited her chances, Chen Meng extinguished them again in the fifth set. This was perhaps her most clinical performance of the night. She slowed the tempo, varied her spin, and refused to give Sun the rhythm she craved. Sun's attempted winners began clipping the net or flying long. Every time she tried to step in aggressively, Chen was ready with a calm counter. The scoreboard reflected Chen's mastery, 11-4. Now Chen was just one set away from Olympic gold, and the teenager across the table was running out of answers. Set 6, the final push. Sun Yingxia wasn't going to hand it over easily. The sixth set was the fiercest of the match, a back-and-forth duel where every rally felt like a mini-war. Sun unleashed her full arsenal, lightning-fast flicks, aggressive third-ball attacks, and sharp cross-court winners. But Chen Meng absorbed the storm. Every time Sun closed the gap, Chen responded with flawless execution. At 9-9, the tension was palpable. The gold medal hung on a knife's edge. Chen, showing the composure that had carried her to world number 1, played 2 perfect points. One deep serve that set up a quick finish, and one rally where her consistency forced Sun into a fatal error. 11-9. Match over. Chen Meng had secured her first Olympic singles gold. Chen Meng's approach to defeating Sun Yingxia was masterful in its simplicity. Rather than trying to match Sun Yingxia's explosive style, she focused on disrupting rhythm, controlling pace, and forcing her opponent into uncomfortable positions. She played chess while Sun Yingxia was trying to play checkers, and the strategy worked brilliantly. The moment when Chen Meng sealed her victory over Sun Yingxia was shocking not just because of the upset, but because of how complete it was. This wasn't a lucky win or a fluke performance. This was a systematic dismantling of someone who had seemed invincible just hours earlier. Chen Meng had cracked the code that everyone else had failed to solve. After watching every world number 1 finally falls to an Olympic champion, which part surprised you the most? Drop your comment below and share the reason why.